Commander Yuki stared at her screen with wide eyes. The numbers made no sense. Her long, thin fingers moved quickly across the controls, checking the data again and again. The same impossible readings appeared every time. This cannot be right, she whispered to herself. The Maelstrom Nebula stretched across her display like an angry storm frozen in space. Bright colors swirled and twisted red, purple, and gold clouds that moved in ways that hurt to watch. For over 1,000 years, every space-traveling race in the galaxy had marked this place with the same warning: stay away, death zone, no entry. The nebula was a killer. Ships that flew too close simply vanished. The few brave explorers who had tried to study it from a distance found radiation so strong it could melt steel in minutes. Gravity pulled and twisted in directions that should not exist. Time itself moved wrong inside those deadly clouds. Yet now, deep inside the most dangerous part of the nebula, Yuki's sensors were picking up something that should not be there. Energy signatures, organized patterns, signs of intelligence. Officer Desic, she called to her second-in-command. The tall, green-scaled reptile walked over on his powerful legs. Yes, Commander. His voice was deep and rough like grinding stones. Look at these readings. Tell me what you see. Desic bent his long neck down to study the screen. His yellow eyes grew larger as he read the data. These patterns, they look like construction signals, mining operations. But that is not possible. That is what I thought too. Yuki touched a control, and the image grew larger. But look closer. See these power readings. They are not random. Someone is using energy in there. A lot of energy. Commander, nothing can live in the Maelstrom. The Council's best scientists have studied it for centuries. The radiation alone would kill any known life form in less than 1 hour. Yuki stood up from her chair. She was small, even for her people. But her voice carried the authority of someone who had spent 30 years exploring the unknown corners of space. Then either our sensors are completely wrong, or there is something in that nebula that we do not understand. She walked to the large window that looked out into space. The Maelstrom Nebula filled half the view, its angry colors seeming to move even as she watched. Far away, so far she could not see them, were the monitoring stations that had sent this impossible data. Tiny automated posts that watched the nebula's edge and reported back to Council headquarters. Vesic, prepare the exploration ship Harmonies. Edge, full diplomatic crew and scientific equipment. Commander, you cannot be serious. The Council has forbidden any direct approach to the Maelstrom. The last ship that tried was destroyed 50 years ago. The last ship was not looking for signs of intelligence. They were just flying blind into a storm. We have data now. Real information. If someone is really alive in there, we need to know who they are and how they survived. Desic's tail moved back and forth, the way it always did when he was worried. What if it is a trap? What if something dangerous is using signals to lure ships into the nebula? Yuki had thought about that too. In her long career, she had seen many strange things in deep space. Some were wonderful discoveries that helped all the races of the galaxy. Others were dangerous, even deadly. But that was why the Council had exploration fleets. Someone had to take the risks to learn the truth. Then we will be very careful, she said. But we cannot ignore this. If these readings are real, if someone has actually found a way to live in the Maelstrom, then everything we know about the galaxy has just changed. 3 days later, Captain Bora sat in the command chair of Harmony's Edge as they approached the nebula's outer edge. She was younger than Commander Yuki, but she had led more first contact missions than anyone else in the fleet. Her blue skin had dark patterns that showed her calm mood, even though her heart was beating fast. Distance to nebula boundary, she asked. 200 kilometers and closing, replied her navigator. Officer Kess, his 4 eyes moved independently as he watched different instruments at once. Radiation levels are rising, but still within safe limits. Communications, are you picking up anything? The communications officer, a peaceful plant-like being called Florax, rustled his leaves before answering. I am detecting organized signals, Captain. They are coming from deep inside the nebula. The patterns suggest. They suggest someone is trying to communicate. Captain Bora felt her skin patterns change to show excitement, mixed with fear. Can you understand the signals? Not yet, but I am working on it. Wait, ... Captain, I am receiving a direct transmission. Someone is speaking to us. The bridge fell silent. Through the crackling static of space interference came a voice speaking, in broken but understandable Council standard language. Unknown ship, this is Maelstrom Station Control. We see you on our sensors. Welcome to our little corner of the galaxy. Docking Bay 12 is ready, if you want to visit. Just keep your shields up on approach. The weather out here can be a bit rough. Admiral Minho walked slowly toward the docking bay, his heavy boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. He had done this walk many times before, but today felt different. Today, for the first time in 40 years, aliens were coming to visit. Maelstrom Station. He stopped in front of a mirror and checked his appearance. His black hair was getting gray at the sides, and his face showed the lines that came from years of living in hard places. The radiation badge on his chest glowed a soft green, safe levels, just like always. His grandmother would have laughed to see that. In her time, those badges glowed red most days. Nervous, Admiral? Asked Lieutenant Gina as she joined him near the airlock. She was young, born right here on the station, and the swirling death. Clouds outside the windows were as normal to her as blue skies had once been to humans on Earth. Not nervous, Minho replied. Just curious. We have been trying to contact other races for so long. I wonder what they will think of us. The docking system made a loud clang as the alien ship connected to their station. Green lights flashed, to show the connection was secure. Minho took a deep breath and pressed the button to open the airlock. The first alien through the door was unlike anything he had seen in the old database files. She was tall and graceful, with blue skin that seemed to shine with its own light. Dark patterns moved across her face and arms like living tattoos. Behind her came other strange beings, a tall reptile creature that walked on two legs, something that looked like it was made of living plants, and a small being covered in what might have been crystal scales. The blue-skinned alien stepped forward, carefully. When she spoke, her voice came through a small device that changed her words into human language. I am Captain Bora, of the Galactic Council Exploration Fleet. We did not expect to find anyone here. Minho smiled and held out his hand, the way humans had always greeted each other. Admiral Minho, Commander of Maelstrom Station. It is good to meet you, Captain. Though I have to ask, what took you so long? We have been sending signals on standard frequencies for 40 years. Captain Bora stared at his hand for a moment, before carefully reaching out to touch it. Her skin felt cool and smooth. Sending signals. You mean, you want it to be found? Of course. It gets quiet out here sometimes. Minho pointed to the large windows that showed the nebula's wild colors dancing outside. Besides, we thought someone might want to trade eventually. We have more energy than we know what to do with, and some interesting materials you folks might find useful. The aliens looked at each other in a way that clearly meant they were all thinking the same thing. These humans were crazy. Admiral, Captain Bora said slowly, do you understand that this region is classified as uninhabitable? The radiation levels alone should have killed you within hours. Minho laughed and tapped his green radiation badge. Oh, the radiation? Yeah, it is a bit strong when you first get here. Takes some getting used to. My daughter Nari was born here 25 years ago. She barely notices it anymore. Kids learn to handle anything, you know? The plant-like alien made rustling sounds that might have been words. Captain Bora listened to her translator before speaking again. Officer Florax wants to know how many humans live here. On this station, about 50,000. In the whole nebula system, we are up to around 2 million now. 3 generations of families calling this place home. The crystal-covered alien made high-pitched sounds that hurt to listen to. Through the translator, his voice sounded shocked. 2 million beings, living in the most dangerous place in known space. This is impossible. Well, dangerous is a matter of opinion, said Minho. Sure, the radiation is strong, and the gravity does weird things sometimes. But once you learn to work with it instead of fighting it, this place has everything you need. Unlimited energy, rare materials, and some of the most beautiful views in the galaxy. He led them to the main observation deck. Through the thick, transparent walls, they could see the nebula's heart, where impossible colors twisted and flowed like liquid light. In the distance, other human structures floated safely in the deadly storm, mining platforms, research stations, and even what looked like farms growing food in the poisonous clouds. This is beyond our understanding, the reptile alien said through his translator. Our scientists have studied this nebula for centuries. They all agreed that no life could exist here. Lieutenant Gina joined the conversation. Your scientists probably never lived here. Big difference between studying something from far away and actually making it your home. My great-grandfather was part of the first group that came here. They lost a lot of people learning how to survive, but the ones who made it through, well, they figured out that this place is not trying to kill you. It is just different. Captain Bora walked closer to the window, staring out at the swirling chaos. Your people chose to stay here, to live in this storm of death. Chose? Minho grinned. Captain, after 40 years of living in the most exciting place in the galaxy, everywhere else seems kind of boring. Dr. Suk walked through the busy corridors of residential level 7, pointing out the normal daily life that surrounded them. Children ran past, laughing as they played games that would have been impossible anywhere else in the galaxy. There, laughter echoed off walls, made from materials that could only be found in the heart of deadly nebulae. Population is currently 2.3 million across 47 stations and mobile platforms. She explained to the group of stunned aliens following behind her. We have mining operations in the higher radiation zones, manufacturing using controlled gravity wells, and our communication network runs through temporal fold systems. Captain Bora stopped walking so suddenly that the reptile alien behind her almost crashed into her back. Temporal fold systems. That is theoretical technology. The Council's best scientists have been trying to develop that for hundreds of years. Engineer. Tyke looked up from his workstation where he was making adjustments to what looked like a machine that bent space itself. His hands moved with the easy confidence of someone who had been doing this job for 20 years. Oh, this old thing. My grandfather figured out the basics about 30 years ago. Had to. Really. Normal communication systems do not work in here because of all the interference from the nebula. You learn to solve problems fast when your life depends on it. The crystal alien, who called himself Vexteler, was pointing a scanning device at everything he could see. The device kept making worried beeping sounds as it gave readings that should not exist. This technology is beyond our current understanding. How did your species develop such advanced techniques? Dr. Suk shrugged like it was no big deal. Necessity, mostly. When you live in a place that wants to kill you every day, you either figure out how to make it work for you, or you die. We chose to figure it out. They walked through a section where families lived in apartments with windows looking out at gravitational storms that could tear planets apart. Children pressed their faces to the glass, watching the pretty lights that would instantly kill most other life forms in the galaxy. But your people, Captain Bora pressed, still trying to understand. Surely some wanted to leave, to return to safer space. Some did leave, early on, admitted Chief Operations Officer Junho, as he joined their group. The first few years were really hard. We lost a lot of good people learning how to live here, but most who stayed, well, where else in the galaxy can you surf gravity waves for fun? Where else can you harness leftover supernova energy to power an entire city? He pointed to a large transparent area where a group of teenagers were doing exactly that, riding controlled gravity waves like others might ride ocean waves on a planet's surface. They whooped and shouted with joy as forces that could crush starships carried them safely through the air. The plant alien, Florax, made rustling sounds that the translator turned into words. These young humans show no fear. Do they not understand the danger around them? What danger? Asked 12-year-old Hyun as she walked past, her school bag floating beside her in a personal gravity field. This is just home. My mom says the old Earth had dangerous weather too. Things called hurricanes and earthquakes. We have radiation storms and gravity waves. Same thing, different place. She skipped away, her gravity field keeping her bag and books floating perfectly in place. As she moved, Vextaler's scanning device was now making constant alarm sounds. The energy readings from this single station exceed the power output of my home world. How is this possible? Engineer Tyke stood up from his workstation and wiped his hands on a cloth. See, that is the thing everyone gets wrong about the Maelstrom. You all think it is dangerous because it has so much energy. We think it is useful because it has so much energy. Same energy, different way of looking at it. He walked them to another observation window. Outside, they could see massive collection, arrays that gathered the nebula's wild energy and turned it into steady power. The arrays looked delicate, like metal flowers, but they operated in conditions that would melt most known materials. The trick is not fighting the nebula, Dr. Suk explained. The trick is learning to dance with it. Every gravity wave, every radiation burst, every temporal distortion, they all follow patterns. Once you learn the patterns, you can predict them. Once you can predict them, you can use them. A small child, maybe 6 years old, ran up to Captain Bora and tugged on her uniform. Lady, want to see my pet? Without waiting for an answer, she held up a small container with what looked like captured lightning dancing inside. His name is Sparky. I caught him near the big energy storm yesterday. The child's mother hurried over, looking embarrassed. Dummy, do not bother the visitors. And put Sparky back where you found him before dinner. But Mom, Sparky likes it here. Look, how happy he is. The captured energy pulsed brighter, as if it really was happy. Captain Bora knelt down to the child's level. Is that, ... Is that piece of the nebula's energy, huh? They like to play games. This one followed me home. Dami grinned and skipped away, her pet energy dancing in its container. Dr. Suk watched the alien delegation staring after the child with complete amazement. We did not just survive the maelstrom, she said quietly. We made it our playground. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 6 days without a break. Representatives from hundreds of worlds filled the massive chamber on Nexus Prime, their voices growing louder and angrier with each passing hour. The great dome above them showed the stars, but nobody was looking at the peaceful view. Everyone was too busy arguing about what to do with the humans. The humans control resources that could change everything, declared Senator Korth of the Trade Federation, his purple skin darkening with excitement. Their energy output from just one nebula is more than 50 of our biggest worlds produced together. Admiral Yura sat quietly at the speaker's platform in the center of the chamber. She was a small woman with graying hair, but she had the calm confidence of someone who had spent decades making impossible things happen. Around her, hundreds of aliens argued about her people's future while she waited patiently for her chance to speak. We must have access to their technology, shouted a delegate from the mining guild. Think of what we could accomplish with energy like that. But what if they are dangerous? Responded a worried voice from the Science Coalition. A species that can live in places that kill everyone else. What if they decide we are in their way? Admiral Yura listened to the arguments with growing amusement. These beings were afraid of humans because they could survive in deadly places. while at the same time demanding access to the resources that came from living in those deadly places. The logic made no sense to her. The human settlements violate our understanding of physics, said Dr. Zenth, the council's chief scientist. His 6 arms waved as he spoke, holding different data tablets. They are using technologies we thought impossible. They are living in regions we marked as absolutely uninhabitable. Which brings up an important question, added Security Chief Varlin, a massive being whose voice rumbled like distant thunder. If they can survive anywhere, what stops them from taking over everything? Finally, Admiral Yura raised her hand to speak. The chamber fell silent immediately. This was the first time a human had been allowed to address the full council during the formal session. With respect, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the huge space. You are all missing the bigger picture here. She stood up slowly and activated a holographic display that appeared above the speaker's platform. Dozens of red dots, scattered across a map of the galaxy, each one marking a location that had been written off as too dangerous to explore. 3 weeks ago, our deep space scouts made contact with human settlements in the corona fields around the star you call Rigel 7. Yesterday, we got a message from our people who are living inside the void storm near the galactic core. Last month, we found out our miners have been working inside the Black Nebula for 15 years. The chamber buzzed with shocked whispers as the aliens looked at the map. Every red dot represented a place their own people had marked as certain death. What you are calling impossible, we are calling Tuesday, Admiral Yura continued with a slight smile. We are not trying to compete with anyone. We are not trying to take over anything. We are just living in the neighborhoods everyone else decided to abandon. Council leader Zephyros, an ancient being whose crystalline body sparkled with inner light, leaned forward on his high throne. What exactly are you telling us, Admiral? I am telling you that while you have been debating whether we are a threat, we have quietly become the galaxy's landlords for about 30% of all the space you thought was empty and useless. Admiral Yura's voice remained calm and friendly, but her words hit the chamber like a bomb explosion. She touched a control, and the holographic display changed. Now it showed mining operations, energy collection stations, and even cities and places that every galactic chart marked as Do Not Ente, are fatal hazard. The question is not whether you can control us, she continued. The question is whether you want to be our partners or just our customers. Senator Korth jumped to his feet, his voice shaking with excitement and fear. Are you threatening the council? Not at all, Admiral Yura replied. I am offering you a business deal. You need energy and materials. We live in the places where you can get unlimited amounts of both. We need things you make: computers, medical supplies, entertainment systems, food variety. Seems like we should be working together instead of arguing about who is dangerous. A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. Representative Claxon from the Explorers Guild had been quiet until now. Admiral, your people have settlements in the temporal storms near Vega. Our best ships cannot even get close to those regions. Our kids go to school there, Admiral Yura said simply. The temporal effects make great playgrounds, once you learn how to predict them. The chamber fell completely silent, as hundreds of alien minds tried to process what they had just heard. These humans were not just surviving in impossible places, they were raising families there, building communities, turning cosmic death traps into suburban neighborhoods. So, Admiral Yura said into the silence, do you want to keep arguing about us, or do you want to start talking business? Because either way, we have work to do back home. 6 months later, Admiral Yura stood in the main conference room of the newest space station in the galaxy. The station itself was built inside a stable wormhole, a location that every alien race had marked as impossible to use until humans moved in and turned it into the perfect meeting place between distant parts of space. Through the massive windows, she could see ships from dozens of different worlds coming and going. Alien vessels that had never traveled through dangerous space were now using human-built navigation systems to fly safely through regions that used to be marked as death zones on every galactic map. The Human Frontier Development Corps has established permanent settlements in 63 previously inaccessible regions. Admiral Yura reported to the mixed audience of humans and aliens sitting around the huge conference table. Galaxy-wide energy production is up 400%. Rare material mining has opened completely new fields of technology that we never thought possible. Captain Bora, now serving as the main liaison between the Council and humanity, shook her blue head in amazement. Her skin patterns showed confused admiration. Even now, seeing these reports every day, I still do not understand how your people do this. Director Wan of the Frontier Corps laughed as he looked up from his datapad. He was a young man who had grown up in the corona fields, where plasma storms hot enough to melt planets were just part of the weather. It is really simple. Everyone else looks at a stellar corona and sees instant death. We look at it and see free heating for the space habitat we want to build there. But the danger, Captain Bora started to say, is just another engineering problem to solve, finished Dr. Suk, who now headed the Joint Human Council research program. Humans have an old saying, if you are not living on the edge, you are taking up too much room. Turns out, all the best real estate in the galaxy is on various edges. The main screen in the conference room showed live images from human settlements across the galaxy. Children playing in gravity-controlled playgrounds while deadly radiation storms swirled outside their protective barriers. Farmers growing food, using energy from black holes. Miners collecting materials from the hearts of dying stars, while their families lived in comfortable cities floating nearby. The temporal gardens on Station 47 are producing food 20 times faster than normal farming, reported Agricultural Coordinator Sunmi. The time distortions let us grow crops in hours instead of months. We are already shipping fresh food to 12 council worlds. Representative Vextiller, the crystal alien who had been so shocked by his first visit to human space, now served as the council's technology coordinator. The gravity manipulation techniques developed at the Black Hole Research Station have revolutionized our construction industry. We can now build structures that were impossible before. Admiral Yura watched the faces around the table. Aliens, who had once been terrified of humans, now worked alongside them every day. The fear had been replaced by something much more useful: partnership. The galaxy just got much bigger, she said as she concluded her presentation. We are honored to help everyone explore it. In the back of the room, a junior council archivist named Tessic was updating the official galactic navigation charts on his portable computer, next to thousands of red zones that had been marked fatal hazard avoid at all costs. He was adding a new label: habitable, human settlement present, safe passage available. The changes were dramatic. Regions of space that had been empty on the maps for centuries now showed thriving communities, trade routes, and resource extraction operations. The galaxy had not gotten physically bigger, but the amount of space that could be used had doubled almost overnight. I have a question, said a new voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Captain Juno, who commanded one of the human deep space exploration vessels. She looked tired but excited, the way explorers always looked when they had found something interesting. We just made contact with a new human settlement in the quantum storm fields near the galactic rim. They have been there for 8 years, working on something they call probability farming. They are growing crops that exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. Admiral Yura sighed. Let me guess. They want to know when they can start shipping their products to council worlds. Actually, they want to know if anyone wants to visit. They say the fishing is great in the quantum streams, and the kids love the reality-shifting playgrounds. Captain Bora made a sound that might have been alien laughter. Of course they do. Humans turn quantum uncertainty into recreational activities. As the meeting ended, and the various representatives returned to their ships, old council archivist Zelen whispered to his young assistant, "You know, when I was young, we used to say that space was mostly empty. Turns out, We just were not brave enough to live in the interesting parts. The assistant looked out at the swirling colors of the wormhole that surrounded their station. Sir, do you think there are any places in the galaxy that even humans cannot live? Zelen thought about that for a moment, then shook his head. Probably not. And if there are, I am sure they will figure out how to turn them into vacation destinations.